So we need to understand the terminology in the workflow. So we have something called workflow definition, instance, workflow task, and we will have something called the attributes, methods, and binding. What are attributes? A property or a characteristic of an object. Okay, so what is an object? Invoice is an object. Purchasing order is an object. And what is an attribute? A property or characteristic of an object. For example, invoicing party means a vendor. Okay, so it becomes an attribute. And sales organization, that can be considered as a uh, attribute. Method, an operation that can be executed on an object. Okay, any operation that happens on an object is called method. So any park, edit. So what exactly method has in general, in the from the object oriented programming point of view, it will have the code, it will have the logic. So the same thing happens here. So the park or edit, or you want to do some process on the invoice. You want to park the invoice, so it's a process. You want to edit the invoice, it's a process. You want to create an invoice, it's a process. So these all things come under the methods. And we have binding, the specification of values from one workflow component to another. So that's something like, see, if you have one step, so one step to another step, how do we pass these values? That is something which we cover under the binding. So that's called binding. That the technical term for that is binding. And then we have, so we have the something called common data structure. Container is a common data structure used to define the data that is passed via binding. So if you want to pass some values from one workflow step to another workflow step, we have a container which can pass these values from one container to one object to another object. That's something which will have it in the container. Dialog task. A dialog task is a workflow task that requires an action to be performed. For example, approve purchase order. So when you want to approve purchase order, it's a dialog task. You have to approve is a dialog task. Background task, a non-dialog task that does not require any user actions. For example, a background task could update a field on a purchase order without user having to execute me22n. So there is another example which we have discussed earlier. Like, the vendor will be intimated. A tire manufacturing company is a vendor for a car manufacturing company. So when the car manufacturing company is having the less stock of tires, automatically the vendor can be intimated that they have a less stock now. So that is also a background task. Sub workflow, a workflow template or a workflow task which is called by another workflow is called sub workflow. Terminating event, an event which your workflow will listen for, which will terminate a single step task. So terminating event will have a start button and start and stop. Start and stop, these two are the events for sure. They're going to have it in every workflow, guys. In every workflow will have a start and will have stop. These two events are mandatory. And any decision making events or something like that, we might have it in the middle, but the start and stop, and at least one task or one work step. Okay, workflow step. So at least one workflow item, it's called one flow item. So one workflow item is mandatory. And workflow item can also be called, in some instances it can be called as object. Okay, so this is what we have. Terminating event, so event is something like start and stop are the events. Now what are we going to do is, we are going to create a single step document in which we have a manager who has to approve something which has been created by. Okay, so we have a manager who needs to approve or reject something which is created by a clerk. That's what we are going to do now. So for this is called the single step task. In the single step task, we are going to do it, and we are going to create a clerk. We're going to create a clerk as a agent. Okay, there will be two things that we have to remember, guys. There will be two types of people involved. If a person is involving in the workflow, there will be two types of people. So one is, if a person is involving, a person can be either a role or agent. Either they can be role, agent. Role or agent. Role is something like, okay, Prime Minister is a role. Agent is Modi. So this is agent. Agent is always an individual. Role is something which is a kind of a role. Okay, role is like in a designation or something like that. So it can also be something. And single role can have multiple people. For example, member of parliament, MP, member of parliament will have some hundreds of people, says 500 people. So if all these 500 are together called member of parliament, they all come under a single role, that is member of parliament is a role, and for which we have 500 people. So in the same way, we need to understand that role can have single agent or multiple agents, and agent can change. Okay, even agents change. We can assign some tasks to role. Okay, we can assign task to a role. So assigning task to a role, the advantage is, if you assign the task to a role, what is the advantage that we have is, even if people change in that, I mean agents will change, it will still be unchanged, because all that we have to do is we will be having a role definition. In role definition, all that you have to do is you have to change the agents. When you change agents, automatically that's it, you don't have to disturb anything. But if you are assigning some task to agent, you have to find again another agent to which you have to map that workflow. Okay, so this is something which in automation of process we have something like there is a general task, like if any issue has come in the production, any issue in production, this needs to be intimated to a particular role. Okay, this can be done, but we cannot assign a payslip. Your payslip cannot be assigned to a role, it has to be assigned to an agent. And once the agent leaves the company, that is something which we cannot assign to anyone else, because the payslip is individual to a person. So in some scenarios we have to assign the task to an agent, in some scenarios we have to assign the task to a role. So here what we are doing is we will be assigning a particular agent to a role. Okay, and then we'll be going to create that. So to create this simple scenario wherein we have a manager and a clerk. Okay, guys, let me once again give you a clear picture. This is what we are going to do now, guys. We're going to do it in the system. We're going to do this in the system. So we have a clerk, we have a manager. We're going to create a clerk, and this entire process is what we'll see. This is what we have to do. Okay, this is what we are going to do, guys. We're going to do that, and we're going to do that in the SWDD transaction. I'm going to explain you each and every transaction that actually comes. That comes. Okay, so we'll see that. Okay, guys, we are going to have the start and stop. In the start and stop, we have something called. We're going to write this. See, in between this, we are going to write the step. There will be a step. Okay, in this step, what are we going to do is we are going to take a decision. Okay, so we are going to have a decision, and who is going to take a decision? The decision will be taken by the manager. Okay, there will be a person who is actually considered as a manager. So we have a managerial, someone with the managerial role. Okay, okay, a managerial role, we have a decision. In this, either the manager has a right to approve or reject, or we can also write one more thing like a modify, or modify and send. Okay, modify, so you are requesting them to modify. These all things can be happening, this all can happen in the step. Okay, in the single step. So a clerk will be a clerk or an employee. Okay, so the example that we have taken is just an approval of a manager from the clerk. Okay, so or employee to the manager, something like that. So this is what we are discussing, guys. So let's see how to do this. We have a start, we have a stop. Start and stop, you cannot, no one can delete them. This by default will come. Okay, and the transaction code that we are going to use it for creating this is SWDD code. We're going to do it in the SWDD transaction, guys. Okay, so SWDD transaction, we're going to create this task, and before that we need to first create the clerk and the manager. So we need to go ahead and create this clerk and manager. So we are going to create this roles. Okay, we are going to create roles. Roles are clerk. Okay, role 1 is clerk and role 2 is manager. Role 2 is manager. Okay, we're going to do that. So we are going to first create the rules and then we are going to create a decision, and once the clerk initiates a process and says, do you want to approve or reject, then the manager, how the manager will reply back? Manager will reply back through his mailbox, right now we are going to create a mail in SAP itself. Okay, that will be in SO01 transaction. Okay, let's see that. Okay, here you should get the mail, and where we have to approve, they have to approve or reject. Once they approve or reject, then you will be getting a mail back. Okay, and this is a SAP specific inbox, guys. The same thing can also be further done into a email also, like into your Gmail or into a official email ID. Okay, so those things also can happen. Okay, so basically, if you have to create a role for a particular person. So if you have to create a role for a particular person, then you have to go back to the other email ID, PPOC, but other transaction code. But let's go with a simple one now. So we are going to go ahead with the SWDD transaction, guys. We're going to do the SWDD transaction. So in the SWDD transaction, we can build the workflow. Okay, and if you have two conditions now, if yes, then it has to be it has to get a mail that it is approved, and no, it has to get that issue. So as I told you, the moment we create a workflow, even before we write anything, by default start and complete. Okay, these two events are there, and then we have the undefined click for new step is also there. You just need to save this abbreviation, so we can go for this something like ZVA underscore ZVA underscore workflow 1 workflow for approval. Say OK. Okay, now we have done this. Now once it's been done, so you just need to double click on this, right click on this, create. So when you say right click on this and create, it will ask you what do you want to create here. So this is a decision making, right? So decision making will also be here. So here we have user decision. So I just double clicked on it, and then we'll go for the user decision. Okay, user decision. In the user decision, we are going to write this something like we're going to have this as approve or reject. And here we're going to write the decision text. we can have this approve or reject. So we can either go for approve or reject or modify. Approve, this is the first one. Reject and modify. These three things were. So in outcome area, congrats, your request is approved. Sorry, better luck next time. Do it fast. Do the modification. Okay, so these are the things that we are doing it. Okay, so what we just did is we just clicked on that user decision, and after the user decision we have this title. So we can give any particular title, and after the title we are giving the decision text. So what has to happen after this? So we are writing that. Okay, these are the decision options that we are giving, and you can give multiple decisions as well. Okay, so once it's been done, we can just say okay. Okay, after that you'll get this. So we'll just get this. We can move it like this. Okay, so we have sorry, better luck next time. Okay, so to whom it should be sent. Okay, to whom should it be sent? Okay, this is what we have to decide now. Now we'll double click on this and we'll write. We have to send a mail, right? So we'll create a mail now. So we should select the mail here. So it will be like, okay, so by default we have the wf initiator. So I'm not changing this. Now in this there will be various options, guys, like you can have user with you. If you have this 81 user 21, right? So 81 user 21 is the user, so you can give it to that. Or as of now we are giving expression. We can also give it to organization unit, job, position, work center. We're going to discuss that later. So this one, so subject is what is that we have clicked on. What is that we clicked on? Okay, anyways, like I'll go ahead with this. I'll go for
Oh, you clicked on sorry. Better luck next time.
oh, okay, thanks for that. Okay, okay, now this is coming. Okay, this is okay. You save it in your package. Okay, this is okay, sorry, don't worry. And then we'll click on this, like send mail to send mail. We are going to drag it and drop this one. So I have this rejected. Okay, in this, like, we have this. Okay, so in this we have to drag and drop that one. So send mail again here, again to the initiator. Okay, and this is congrats. Just say okay. Again, this also will be saved here. Okay, this is saved here. Now these three options will come, guys. Like whatever the user, I mean the manager clicks, according to that they will be having this option. Okay, so later point of time we can assign it to a role. So basically when to user decision, in the user decision we can have this agent. Okay, so to whom are we sending this? This needs to be work expression. So here I'm giving to whom it should be sent. I'm going for WF underscore initiator only. But right now, what you can do is user that 81 user 28 is my login. So you can select that actually. Let's see if it comes here. So mine is 81 user 28. Your users are not visible here. Okay. Anyways, like, so you can give this as user, so that will come to me actually. Okay, so once I approve or reject, it will be like, you can just see that. Okay, this is something which we have done. Just say okay, this is done. So this has to be assigned to someone, so we assign to them. So normally what happens is, if you create a role, then you have to assign it to that role, so that like that role, whoever is there will get that mail. Okay, now once it's been done, we can go ahead, because I myself am doing it, and I am the initiator, I am the manager, so both the mails will come into only my mail ID, guys. But when you do this in this, so immediately when you initiate this workflow, what will happen is, that gets executed, that comes to my mailbox, and then once I approve or reject, that mail will come back to you. Okay, so let's do this now. So we'll just execute this, and this is done. Okay. Okay, so this has been done. Now what we have to do is, we have to go and check in SO01 SO01 transaction. So I'll just refresh this. SO01 transaction. Okay, so here once we come here, okay, so how did we come here is, like, we just went into this one, and we have done this, execute this. After execution, we'll come to the next screen. In this screen, you have to just click on execute again. So once you click on execute, you will get this approve, reject, or modify. You can go to SO01 transaction and just check that. So you'll get this mail like this, approve or reject. So we have to select that, and then you'll be opening a mail here. So this is a mail. Click on it. So it will be opening like this. Now in this we have sales order by Shiva description or something like that. So this is a default description. So we have cancel and keep work item inbox. In this way we'll get the message here. Okay, log user. Okay, so here it is already been logged. So we just need to come out of it, so that now we can double click on this, because there I have opened. That's the reason I'm not able to do that. So cancel and keep the work item inbox. This is something which will by default got into that. So we just need to click on this approve now. So once it's approved, then again the same user will get a mail that it has been approved. Congrats, approved. Okay, because I want to show it to you all in the same box, I'm doing it. You can use it with two different IDs. Okay, if any two of you can patch up and you give their IDs as the approver name, so that the mail goes to them, and then after that they can process it. Okay, this is what we can do, guys. Okay, so in this, like, we have 100 messages. So any 100 messages are there, it will come here. Documents, workflow. Okay, so there is one thing, approve or reject. Again, you can click approve or reject. Once you are rejecting or approving, immediately it will go away from your workflow. Okay, it'll be disappearing from the workflow. See, workflow 0 items now. But if you go to the documents, you'll get, sorry, don't worry. Okay, so that because we have rejected that, it will come. So if you open that, you will get that description. Better luck next time. Whatever you have written, that mail will come here. So this is a very simple concept in which we are creating the mail within, which are getting the mail within the program. But we can also do it too. We can also plan it in such a way that we can do project wherein we can send the email to external users, like to some Gmail or something like that. So we'll have options for that one as well. Okay, this is the one we have, guys.